Hello, everybody. My name is Edward S. Redcar, and I'm the host of Edward S. Redcar's Entertainer Chat. And today I have the great pleasure of talking with Laurie Burke. I confess, Laurie, I have to get my cheat sheet out here. I mean, you've done so many things, so
Oh,
let me do this in proper order. Laurie is an actor, a voiceover artist, a singer, TV host, movie review host for Common Sense Media, the original voice of Google, the voiceover for the 2017 Emmy Awards, and uh, she's Backstage Magazine's resident voiceover expert, hosting a free online voiceover videos, which were prevalent during the pandemic when all of us were shut in. And she's also the founder of her virtual voiceover website. And I couldn't remember them all. I just had to write that all down, Laurie. So, uh, welcome to the show, and how are you doing today?
well, thank you so much. That was a lovely introduction. Yeah, it's been a while. I've been doing this for 20 years, so I think there's a lot of things in there even I forget. So, so thank you for that. I'm
Oh,
doing well. I'm doing well. It's nice to see you.
good, good. Nice to see you too. I was just mentioning to Lori that we first met not one-on-one like this, but on Heidi Dean, Marketing for Actors. She's on Instagram, and she has various workshops and everything. And on one occasion, she happened to invite Lori on her show to talk about voiceovers. She talks a lot about different topics, but that one particular show, she focused on voiceover. And so that's when I first seen Lori, and she was talking about her career and giving all of us in that sort of workshop atmosphere tips about getting into voiceover and things like that. And eventually, I went to the Backstage website where she occasionally had her videos about voiceover tips and things like that. And so I enjoyed all of that so much, and meeting her virtually that I just had to meet her virtually in person, if that makes sense. And so yeah, it's such a pleasure to have you here today. And yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun and learn not everything, Laurie, but what we can fit in to this 1 hour box time slot that we have. So yeah, let me get started with the first question here. Uh, all of my guests, I always like to know how they got into what they do, whether a
Mm.
musician, actor, singer, dancer, whatever. And I'll pose this first question to you. Now, you do so many things, and I was just wondering, how did you become interested in acting and voiceover acting? And with that, have you done an equal amount of acting in both theater and film, or one more than the other? Or, well, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, these are great questions because now I have to scan my memory. But I was lucky enough to be brought into a family of professional musicians, and my father was an actor as well. My mom was a musician. Everybody plays, everybody does everything. However, I went to school and got a degree in broadcast communications. I figured communications would be the safe kind of degree to get. And I did a little acting back then, but not a lot. And I became a flight attendant after college. I mean, I've done a million things. So it wasn't until after I got into another job where I was in sales. This is a pretty poignant story, I think, to set up my professional career. I did little things when I was younger, talent shows and plays, musicals, and I always sang. But I was in a sales job and I was very stressed out. And I went to the doctor and I said, "Look, things are happening. I don't know what's going on with my body. My feet are going cold. I don't know what's going on." And he looked at me and he said, "Okay, well, how's your job?" And I said, "Oh, it's fine." And as I said that, a tear ran down my face. I
Oh,
was so stressed that my body was like reacting to this. So he said, "Look, you're too young for all of this to happen.
right,
I don't
yeah.
want to tell you what to do, but you might want to think about doing something else." And I thought, here I am working. I'm not doing what I love, my passion, which is acting, voiceover, all these things. And I'm not saving the world. I'm not curing cancer. So why am I doing this? So I quit my job and I started studying more. I'm a very big believer in studying. That's how I was raised. Go to coaches, go to intensives, go to schools, et cetera. And so I started really studying acting. I went to Europe. Went to study at RADA, which is Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts in London, Paris, Berlin, and that really gave me a lot of a sense of confidence. And as far as voiceover, I went into that sort of straight away. And at that point, we were making, I was making my own videos, my own demos and my own things. It wasn't like it was today. And I I just got more and more into it. And so then I started doing musicals as well. I did company with it's Stephen Sondheim's company. This is in San Francisco. I built most of my career in San
Hmm.
Francisco. And I just continued. And I pretty much in San Francisco, I did more probably I was a TV host, like you said, for Common Sense Media for about 8 years.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
still do voiceover for him.
Hmm.
And then I was the quintessential actor doing everything, all the tech stuff. I had already been the original voice of Google. That's a whole other story. I
Yeah,
already got that
we'll get
booking.
into that more
That's
later on.
okay. Yeah.
Everybody really wants to hear about that, but
Yeah, it's
we'll
an
get into
interesting
that.
story.
Yeah.
But I'm a working actor. I was a working actor, working musician, and then as well as voiceover. So I thought, I'm gonna do it all. So I basically, to answer your question, that was a little longer of an answer. I pretty much split it up, you know, pretty much whatever work I can get at the time. I didn't really, I don't believe that you have to pick one thing. I believe that
Right.
you're a multi creative and you love doing it all. So I also worked at casting and coaching. And I mean, I've, really everything in the business, all the different, I really wanted to learn everything about it. So I've worked on
Hmm. Hmm.
films, TV, lots of commercials, lots of things for tech in Silicon Valley, obviously, a lot of that.
Hmm.
Uh, and and a lot of and musicals and then straight plays as well. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So like with the musicals and the straight plays,
yeah,
say before you got out of high school, were you into all of that in high school, musicals and plays? Was that
yeah.
part of your interest back then?
I wasn't deeply into it. I did a few things, but I just wasn't. I think I was more shy, and I then got into other things, and I don't know. I guess I didn't have that belief that I don't know. I don't know why I didn't get into it more when I was younger. But I think I didn't study as much. Once I studied, I got a lot more confidence in doing it. And I did take drama. I studied in college. Obviously, I took some acting classes and stuff like that. And then again, I got my degree in broadcast communication. So it wasn't
Hmm.
that far out.
Hmm. Hmm.
But it really was more of a late bloomer kind of story, I think, until, I had that wake up call from the doctor that
Right,
kind of
right,
said, "What are you
right,
doing with your life?" Which
right.
I think we all have those wake up
Yeah,
calls.
yeah, at
And
one point or another, yeah.
depending on how you deal with them and what you do. And if you feel like you're not fulfilling your potential, you got
Hmm.
to do something
That's right.
about that.
You got to change.
Got to
Pick
change.
her up
Yeah,
yourself, like they say, by your bootstraps, and just
that's right.
pick a direction and just run with it.
And go for it and
That's right.
believe in
Go for it.
yourself, and,
Right,
and
right.
study and believe in yourself. And I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
those are the two key
yeah,
things. Yeah.
yeah. So, when you went to college for broadcasting,
Hmm.
um, were you in any productions, like college productions, besides just concentrating on like a broadcast
I
career?
think I really wanted to be either Lisa Gibbons, or Mary Hart before her. I really loved Entertainment Tonight. I
Oh,
was more on
okay.
that
Yeah,
path.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I really wanted to do that. And it was just natural. The first time I did it, in especially in front of a teleprompter. Teleprompters are kind of my, very easy. To some people, it comes easy. I think to some people it's a little bit harder. But for whatever reason, I think I grew up watching so much Entertainment Tonight and so much TV that I had the cadence down already, and I
Right,
just really
right.
enjoyed it,
Yeah.
and that's when it stuck. But I think I think it had to do with me being brave enough to do things. I became a flight attendant, like I said, after college. So I didn't go into anything
I
that.
found that interesting. I found that
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to travel and see the world. And if I wasn't brought up with a lot of money. So, all my college was, I got grants and scholarships and stuff. And so, and
Mhm, mhm.
want to travel the world. So the way to do that is to become a flight attendant if you're not independently wealthy.
Right.
That's what I did. And I
That's
traveled all over the world. Yeah.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, um, uh, like you were saying, it was your like interest in traveling and
Hmm.
seeing different parts of the world. So I don't know, maybe this might have occurred to you back then because you said you were interested in traveling and things like that. Uh, did the fact that along with your traveling that you got to meet so many different kinds of people, I mean, both those that were your coworkers, besides like the
Hmm.
passengers, or even the people that you came in contact with in airports or just going out and about out of the
Hmm.
airport, in between your flights and things. Um, was part of your thinking that it would be a great way to study people and personalities, like to prepare for acting? Because I mean, that's the first thing that I think of, but I don't
Hmm.
know if that was
I
what.
wish I was that smart at that time. I was like 21 or 22. I wasn't that smart, but that is exactly what happened. And I don't really remember even talking about being an actor, but apparently I did because everyone I flew with said I did. And I remember I just came across a book that somebody had left me. Guess I was talking to them on a flight. These were all charter flights. So it was like military, mostly, and football teams and charters. And so anyway, they were pretty long flights, a lot of them. So I just came across a book that it's a Meisner book, Sandy Meisner, and it said, "This is your tip for the flight. It was wonderful meeting you, and good luck in your acting career." I don't even remember when that was or saying these things, but apparently I did have that desire. I'm always been fascinated by people. I of all cultures, all
Mhm.
different kinds. I think we all have common threads throughout,
Oh
and
yeah,
I think that has definitely served me in acting for sure.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
think not only that, I still continue to travel. A lot of times I even travel by myself, just sitting at a cafe and
Right.
writing or just observing
Yeah,
and also speaking to people that have such a different experience in this world than we do,
that's
than how
right.
I was brought up.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really travel, I think, is just the best gift that anybody could have in their
Oh,
life.
definitely. And not only that, but to me anyway, it made me realize that it's like we're all we're all one community. It's
Mm,
like the whole world. I mean, even though like we might be separated by an ocean with Europe or separated by Pacific Ocean with Asia and things like that. It's like when you get into another country, it's like, my gosh, we're a world community, even though we've been separated for like what, hundreds and thousands of years. And
yeah.
uh, I don't know if it ever that thought ever entered your mind, which it probably did, but that's the first impression that I got when I first, traveled overseas like that. And yeah,
Yeah.
it is,
And I
it
think
is.
as an actor, I think also and my father also is this way too, always meeting new people. I still study, like that's what I do in my spare time. A lot of times I'll watch documentaries on the human psyche, and my dad
Mhm.
became a counselor after he acted, like in between the acting and things like that. There's a big correlation, I think, because again, that fascination with people, but also I think there's a real love of people and kind of understanding that, I've played wonderful people and I've played people that have, murderers,
Not
so
so
uh,
wonderful people,
not so
right?
wonderful.
Not
Well,
so wonderful
but
people.
they are justified in their mind. They are justified.
Right?
So, that's the thing to know is everybody's got their reasons for everything. I'm not saying that they're correctly justified. I'm just saying that,
That's
it's
right. That's
a
right.
fascinating thing to me, the mind. And so I do
Mhm.
a lot of research on that and the traveling and all the different cultures. So
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
love it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
you were talking about being a people person, a people watcher.
Mhm.
I'm the same way myself. And I mean, I've always been that way. It's like whether you're out, with a group of people or whether you go out for a cup of coffee or whatever by yourself, it's like people are so interesting, are they? I mean, to just sit and just watch them. And it's like sometimes if I get a role, I might kind of remember someone that I seen maybe just sitting
Yeah.
having a cup of coffee. I might probably didn't even know who they were.
Yeah.
We'll never see them again, but it's just something about them. It's like if I get a role, it's like, yeah, I think I'd like to try that person out, fit my skin around there and and see how it fits. And not
Mhm.
only that, like I says, I've always been a people person. I've told other people this before, even on the show, that when I was a small boy, when your family takes you like to parades, you go to parade, doesn't matter if it's Fourth of July or whatever it is.
Mhm.
And I remember my mother saying to me one time, she says, she says, we took you to the parade so that you could see and have fun and watch the parade. And she says, what were you doing? She says, you were watching all the people except the parade. She says you were watching all the people. I've always found, them interesting, like even
Yeah.
from a small age like that. But
I
yeah,
think that speaks to to the art of what we do.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's really it's funny. We all look in the world different ways. My friend used to joke, I also do art, photography and paint and all this stuff. And always since I was a little girl.
uh-huh,
And
uh-huh.
my friend, one of my friends in the Netherlands said, it's funny, Laurie, I'll go to these places that are world famous, and instead of taking a picture of like the famous thing, I'll take a picture of the glass of water with like just
Right,
a little drop in it, because I love the angles on it, the looks on
right,
it, just the
right.
natural part of life.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe there's a
yeah.
little bit of lipstick on the side of the cup. And I found that fascinating.
Oh,
Where did it
okay,
come
okay.
from? Who wore that, or whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We could go down that rabbit hole a lot, but yeah.
Oh, I know it. I know. Well, in
Yeah.
fact, I like photography, myself, and
Yeah.
there happened to be this one time that I like to take like landscape or nature photography or things like that, like say like a landscape against like or along like a
Mm.
riverbed or something like that, and I'm fascinated by the reflection of the trees in the water. You know,
Yes.
it's like one time I took a photo of it included the trees and the reflection of their trees in the trees in the water, and the water was so still that when you first look at the photo, I thought you can't tell which direction is the reflection the real trees, or are the real trees the reflection in the water? You couldn't things like that always fascinated me, but
That's so funny, Edward. Not only do we share that in common, because I've got many of my pieces are like that, but when I was a little girl, I used to draw that, and I think it was thinking back now, it might have been the. I mean, this gets really deep, but the Paramount. I remember the Paramount sign with the mountain.
yes, yes.
I can't remember if there was some sort of thing where it showed like a reflection, maybe not that sign, but like before that or some incarnation of that. I wonder if
Uh,
that's where it came from. But I remember as a little girl, I always sketched as well. My father did as well, and just sketched the reflection on both sides. I did that. I did, how when you're little, you kind of draw the same thing over and over again. Like it could be a palm tree, it could be a unicorn, it could
right,
be
right,
Snoopy.
right, right, right,
I
right.
did that a lot. So it's funny. There's probably some deep psychological things in that reflection thing. But yeah, I'll think about that.
We'll have to both delve into our own
Yeah,
minds to see
yes, for
how much
sure.
that behavior goes, right? It's like
Yes, yeah.
what the root of it is, and yeah, I mean I mean you're so interesting. You do
Oh,
so many things. I mean, uh, I could talk I could talk with you for like 4 hours about this.
uh,
Sequel or a spinoff or whatever. And
anytime. Oh, thanks. I don't know. I don't know. It's just my life. It's funny when people say things and everybody has their own existence. It's just their life. It's the way that they've always been.
that's
Somebody said,
right.
"How
That's
do you
right.
work? You work so much and you have so many jobs and you've had so many jobs." And that's just all I know.
Yeah, yeah.
I
And
enjoy it.
all the information that I was just for those of you out in the audience there before we started recording here, we were just talking about all the different information that Laurie allowed me to read about her background information. I thought it
Mm.
absolutely fascinating. I mean, television, film, television,
Thank you.
film. You have you're on social media everywhere, Instagram, Facebook, and you have your own website and your virtual website and everything. And the thing that the thing that I really wanted to know, and I think probably everyone out there wants to know, because I've been promoting this like all week
Mhm.
there, and I finally get to ask you this question after waiting for
Okay.
so long about Google. You are the original voice of Google. I found that
Mhm.
absolutely fascinating. And it's like, who knew way back when I heard that voice, I would actually get to meet you in person. It's
I
honor and a pleasure. And I've got to ask you, and I think
Mhm.
everybody else would like to know this. What was that experience like at being chosen as the original voice of Google?
Well, that's a great question, and thank you. That's something also. I mean, this will just tell you a little bit uh, about me. I was, I've been doing this for a very long time. Like I said, 20 years, which I think is a good amount of time to do all these things. Uh, and it wasn't until about probably 5 years ago that I was talking to somebody about, gosh, just my qualifications, or it was something about PR or something like that. And they said, well, tell us a little bit about yourself. And I said, I've done this, 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 and I was the original voice of Google, blah, blah, blah. And they said, okay, stop. You should be leading with that. It
Right.
didn't even dawn on me. I don't know why. It just didn't really, so let me tell you the story, and then, you could maybe see why. So
Okay.
this was, I answered an ad. I mean, this is so when I quit my job after that whole doctor's thing, and I said, okay, I want to be a voiceover artist. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with that and do acting. And I'm going to dig in. I bought myself a big old Mac. I still use Mac,
Uh-huh.
Apple products.
Uh-huh.
And I made my demo, and I studied, sorry, with somebody, and then I made my demo and blah, 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 blah. I shopped my demo around. And at that point, you did shop an actual demo around. You didn't
Right,
just
right.
something. And I got this call from a company called Grand Central. Now, remember, I'm in the Bay Area, so startups were kind of just even more getting bigger and bigger, right? Now we all know what a startup is. The time, really not so much. So Grand Central said, we want you to be the voice of this system, blah, 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 blah. So I was the voice of that system. That system got bought by Google. Um, and they said, but they want to keep your voice. Now, mind you, I didn't have an agent back then. I didn't have any points in this. They got bought for like $90 million. Trust me, I
Wow.
didn't get any of that. I was working, and that's just what it is. No residual, no, nothing like that. Um, you know, um, and so I said, "Oh, okay." And even Google was kind of not the Google that we have today. It wasn't
Yeah.
as large. And so then they said, "So now we got to go back in. You got to re-record everything and say Google and blah 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 blah." And that was a whole big thing. So I did that, and it just became this voice of the system. And I honestly didn't even think about it, but millions of people were hearing me say things, and
Right.
or you have one message, or whatever it is that I'm
Yeah.
going to say, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so it's just looking back, it's just so weird. So then, there's been many different, after that, I think they went in-house for some other things. And then,
Mhm.
it's kind of, I
Mhm.
think I'm on some things still. But that is how it all happened. It's
Mhm.
actually a really good lesson in just keep working, do what you love. You don't know where a company is going to go.
Right.
But the lesson is also ask for points, or ask for, negotiate some interest in the company. That's what I'll tell you. That's one of the lessons. But also you just don't know. So just, I'm just proud that I worked, and that I had that. Now I went on, that has served me many, many times over. All of that experience was great too,
Oh, definitely.
to be able to do that. I've done thousands of voiceovers, so which also I feel like I should be 525 years old. I don't know what happened, but
Well, you
but
have all that experience. You have
yeah,
525 years of
I
experience, so
guess
that's
so.
invaluable right there. So,
I
yeah.
guess so. But the point is that I just went like everybody else, right? You audition for something, you send in your best stuff. You're easy to work with, you're professional, you know what you're doing. I had already
Right.
studied, I made my demo. I want to be very clear about that, is that I knew that when I showed up, of course I was nervous, but I knew that I studied. I
Mm-hmm.
knew what I was doing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
especially from making the demo and this and that. And so that's what happened. I got the
Right.
job.
Right.
Yeah.
So there was no way of you knowing way back when that it would have exploded into what it did in the end, right? I mean,
No, but since then I do like to work. I love working with startups. I'm from San Francisco, born and raised. I
mm-hmm.
love the feeling that anything's possible and that people are so passionate about what they're inventing and creating. I like to be a part of that process. I like
Mm-hmm.
to be a team member of that. I think it's really a wonderful time that we're living in with all the
Oh,
new
it
tech.
is. It is. Yeah, especially like you were saying back then when you had to actually distribute that yourself instead of the way it is now, like with virtual auditions, sending in a self-tape.
Oh,
So much easier. It's like you can
yeah,
literally, if you have the energy, do like 10 auditions in one day and send them all out in the same day. No way
100%.
you'd be able to do that physically back in the day. No.
No, and not only that, I also 20 years ago, I had my own home studio. I built my own home studio. That's a whole other story. But
Mhm.
um, I I have always had my own home studio, and I've built many incarnations of it here, there, everywhere. So since the when we all shut down, everyone was like, they found out what a pop filter was or what a microphone, like what different things. They didn't even have any idea, right? I've been doing this for 20 years. So, in my own little studio. And I like that,
Mhm.
creating. I like to create a space that you feel comfortable in
Right, right, right.
it's and I have a really great brother who is he's just a genius in music composing but also sound, so he helps
Oh,
a
okay. Oh,
lot
yeah.
with that. If I have any questions, I'm more the more creative, maybe, like in that, just get me on
Mhm.
the stage,
Mhm. Mhm.
but he'll tell you how to mic it and things like
Right,
that,
right,
so
right.
that's pretty good.
But
Yeah,
like, yeah,
if I run into trouble.
even in this day of self-tapes and all of those
Mm.
things, it's like you literally have to be everything. You have to be the
Yeah.
actor, actress, you have to be the sound man, you have to be the
Mm.
or
Mm.
the lighting person, the writer, the editor. It's like, and I think that that serves us well, right? Because we're like
Yeah.
well-rounded. So if
Mm.
we go into a different situation, we actually know what goes on behind the scenes because we actually do it in this box here that that we send out, right? I mean,
I couldn't agree more. And I've got a lot of advice for, because again, I worked in casting for acting as well as voiceover, but mostly acting in San Francisco, and now we do that on our own as well.
hmm
And I
hmm
think voiceover, which is the company I have now, virtual voiceover, that I launched years ago for
hmm
coaching.
hmm
Uh, I say that it's now as a voiceover artist, we're always kind of like that. Now we may not be the writer, but we're definitely the director, the producer. Now we're the producer, right? Most of the time, unless you go to a studio, and the talent. And we have to make the decisions in editing, which is the best take, all this stuff. So that's kind of how I got into coaching and doing that, is that people kept asking me, like, how do you do this? How have you done that? And, it's so second nature to me. So then I said, I'm going to really develop something
hmm
to share, and I do think that it serves us better now. I also think that there's a big separation now of people that have really worked on their craft and studied. Same thing with self-taping, all this thing. You have to be really dedicated to
hmm
do this.
hmm
It's not so much you just show up and maybe you'll get in, maybe you won't. You have to be really dedicated now more than ever to your craft, to be very, very creative and inventive and work with what you
hmm
have. And
Right,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
right. Because there's so much competition out there, and everybody
Mm.
is doing this. Everybody's trying to do the best and know absolutely as much as they can about self-taping. So uh, I don't know. Maybe there's more competition with this self-taping than there was like when
Yeah.
everyone was just huddled in a room waiting to be
Mm.
auditioned.
Well, I'll
I,
tell you, yeah, I miss those days though. I miss those days of, in San Francisco, it's a very small community. Let's say there was probably like five of us that did it full time, right? And you have to really work to work there, because if you're good, you'll work all the time. But if
Mhm,
you mess up even once, you'll never work again. It's that small.
mhm,
And
mhm,
we would all go into these auditions, and we always said, "Oh my gosh, we should make this a potluck," because we were all friends. That's how I
Right.
did casting and ran these sessions, because the casting director said, "Laurie, you're here all the time. I know you moved just up the street. Do you want to work here?" I said, "Sure." So, and I knew all the actors that were coming in because I'd worked with them for so long, and I could help tell the people that were casting, like, if they asked me, "Do you know this person?" I'd say, "Yeah, they're really good. They show up. They know their lines."
Right, right,
There's
right.
there's such a professionalism, and your reputation really is important. I hope people know that too. So it's like you show up professionally, on time, do your job, be graceful, and
Mhm, mhm.
same thing with voiceover and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you were talking like before about being like when you first got into Google that they when it was taken over by Google, your career with them remained as voiceover.
They bought me
And
with the voice. Yeah,
yeah,
they bought me
yeah.
with the voice.
And
Yeah.
that reminded me that like even now we're talking about like auditions, uh, like some performers might go into an audition, and of course, I mean, we're all disappointed to a certain extent. If you audition for a role and you don't get it, someone else gets it. But I heard one time the way Tom Hanks
Mhm.
looks at audition, it's like, well, we're actors and we love to act. When you're in an audition in front of casting directors, you're acting. It might not be in front of an audience. It might not be on the screen in a movie theater. He says, but you're acting, you're working, you're a working actor. So he always felt good that he got an audition because he felt it's what's the
Mhm.
difference whether you're on the stage or in front of a casting director, you're still acting, you're still getting to do what you love, what you love to do. And not only that, another time I heard that if you don't get a role for one project, not to be disappointed because they more likely than not will have another project sometime down the
Mhm.
line. It could be years, but then you might not have been the right fit for what you were auditioning for at that time, but years or whatever, how much time elapsed down the road, there's going to be another project and they're going to say, I remember them auditioning for
Mhm.
that. I think they'd be just right for this part. So
Mhm.
like they say, they remember you, right? They
Well,
remember you, even though they don't cast
yes.
you now further down the road, right?
I've got a great story about that, but to go back to the point, I say the same thing that Tom Hanks says. And I also believe this in studying, when people, especially for voiceover, when voiceover, now I think people understand you kind of have to study it. But before they would say, "Well, I just want to show up in my pajamas and talk," and I said, "Well, sometimes I'm in my pajamas, but you really do have to study things to do it, and you should enjoy the studying if you like to do it."
Yes.
Like, I don't really have the time as much to take more acting classes than what I do. So, but I would love that. I mean, I went to Europe to study every day. For It was an intensive
Hmm.
3 months. Every day
Hmm.
we woke up to
Hmm.
different kinds of acting and exposure.
Yeah.
And I thought, after I got back from that, I thought, who else does that unless you love to act? Like,
Right,
they never.
right. Well,
So
and one of those
yeah,
locations was Paris, right? Where you went to study in Paris.
Paris, Berlin, and Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts in London was really the biggest one that I was just blown away. If you've never heard of RADA, I don't know, but it's like our Juilliard kind of thing. It's just a huge, very intensive. I was grateful I got in. I got in like on a scholarship. I mean, it was an amazing actors to work with. But the point being that I agree. Where I always say your job is to show up at the audition. You already won. If you
Right,
won it, you're already in. What happens after that? You walk out the door, you played that part that day.
right.
If it was 5 minutes, even if it was just show me your hands, you played a part, you did something. So, really that is the job. That's
Yeah,
the job. And so, and not only the job, that's the passion. But I would love to share the story that you just said. That's happened many times to me that I've auditioned for something and either been called, I have my own business too. I don't just rely on my agent. So, uh, Chance, which I know you were probably going to ask me about anyway, with
Hmm.
Hugh Laurie, we did not get a lot of SAG things or series or movies in San Francisco. It just
Okay.
isn't, it's a non-union kind of town. It's not something that they did a lot of shooting in. It's a little bit difficult until they started offering incentives. San Francisco started offering incentives. So Hugh Laurie decided to shoot Chance in San Francisco. So right at the beginning, I got called in by a casting director and said, and it was for a part of, I think it was like the first episode, and I was to play a principal in a school. Now I auditioned, I got the call back. By the way, once you have the call back, I mean, you're definitely, your job is done. It's not up to you. You got the call back. That means you
Hmm.
did as well as you're gonna do, right?
Yeah, you're
So
in. No
you're in.
doubt about it. You're
I
in,
mean,
right?
whether you get cast or not is, whatever. So anyway, I got the call back. That went well. And I didn't get it. And the casting director called me and said, I think they went with a friend. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well,
Oh,
that,
okay, okay.
whatever it is, what it is, that's fine. So a month or two later, I get another call to audition for Chance. This time it's for a better part and a lawyer. And I auditioned, I got the call back, and I got it. So
Uh-huh.
I'm on
Mhm.
set, and that's a whole other thing too. But it
Yeah.
was wonderful to work with Hugh Laurie. But
Yeah.
I was on.
Alice K, right? That was the
Yes,
lawyer's name.
hey,
Alice
that's
K.
right. And
Okay.
I had about three or four. I think I had 3 or 4 scenes with him. And uh, the writer came up to me and
Okay.
said, the writer and the producer, I think, and they said, I just want to tell you something. You came in for that first part, for the principal, and we were looking for somebody over 50. You're not old enough. You didn't look
Uh-huh.
old enough. There's just no way. But you were a great actress. And
Uh-huh.
we
Uh-huh.
said, we want her to be back in another one. So we called you in for the lawyer part, and that's why you're here today. And I thought, first of all, I could almost cry just thinking about that because that was amazing. But what a gift for him to, what a lovely, generous thing to say to an actor that really reinforces that you're not auditioning for that role. You're auditioning for that person, for that company, but also you're just showing you're acting. You're just acting and you're doing the best thing. And do a good job. I don't care what the role is for. Do the best you can and then leave it at the door.
Hmm.
Go
Hmm.
home, have fun, do your thing. And
Yeah,
if it's meant to be,
forget it, forget about the day and then come back and then start
mhm,
fresh the next day, right?
the next day. But and I do think also being in the casting room, I saw a lot. I got such insider information. I can definitely tell the difference between people that have studied on stage acting,
Hmm.
as opposed to people that have just studied camera acting.
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
not saying that you can't be a great actor and just study camera acting. I'm not, or the vice versa.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
saying for me, I can definitely tell a difference.
There
And
is there is a difference because that's where I started on the stage
mhm,
and when I
mhm,
started doing film, it's like on the stage, it's like everything is like big and louder, and it's when I started
mm.
studying like film, tone it down, don't talk so loud, don't move around so much, right?
Well, I didn't, yeah, and that's not, I mean, maybe, yeah, there's some technical things like that, but I meant more the feeling of it when you're in
Oh, okay.
casting on the other side. When you deal with somebody, I think stage acting is absolutely the way to go as far as study to
Mhm.
begin with, right?
Yeah,
Um,
oh yeah,
I,
yeah.
I things just don't get dropped. So what I mean, you'll just keep going in the scene because we're used to somebody goes up on their line, something falls,
Right.
we've been there, right?
Right.
And
Oh, that's happened more than once. Oh, yeah, yeah,
gone
yeah.
out, the light goes, I mean, there's just a million things that can happen. And
The stories.
the
Yeah,
stories, yeah, and you just keep going on. And there is
yeah.
this commitment um to that story or that character that I think is just so solid. You're like, that's who I am. And you do not get out of that
No, you
character.
don't. You don't.
And you just keep going.
That's
So
right.
even if your partner does, now sometimes it's awkward depending on the film thing that you're doing, the camera thing that you're doing. If you're doing some sort of tech that it's a little different. But as far as the acting sense of it, I really felt that served me, and
Well,
I hope anybody that watches this that's interested in acting does think about that, as well as improv. I did a lot of improv
Oh
and
yeah.
comedy
Oh
and
yeah,
things, and
that helps.
I think it really helps. Yeah, all of
Mhm.
these things. Yeah.
Mhm. I
So,
know, sometimes a young performer will ask me, um, how do I get into all of this?
mm,
Because everybody always, well, they get like starry-eyed, oh, I want to be on film and in the movies and everything. And I always tell them, to me anyway, my personal opinion is that the best training that you can get for acting is to start in the theater.
mm-hmm,
That's what I tell them. I says,
100%.
yeah, and then when you get into film, it's different. The acting is different, like you were mentioning. Technically, it's different, but you got that base. You've got that base like a building block to build from. And yeah, no,
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more about the stage, about stage acting. Coming first in.
Yeah, and I think that I don't think there's that much of a difference. I mean, I understand why, you kind of have to do again, the technical things, the
Yeah.
loud, bigger, the small. But I think the emotion and where you're going through and you're deep, whatever you're studying, whatever,
Hmm.
I have kind of I don't have just one thing. Meisner wasn't my thing, as far as like one thing for 2 years or,
Yeah.
programs.
Yeah.
I kind
Yeah.
of used a whole bunch of different methods together
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
formed my own.
I was just going to say that, like a lot of times, it'll be a combination. A
100%.
combination
Mm.
of different methods. It seems like some roles you approach it like with one method, another role
Hmm.
you'll approach with another method. Some roles it's a combination of the methods. So
I
yeah.
think it's good to have a method. Like in voiceover, I teach a method that I came up with, that I create, so that you always have something to fall back on, right? You're never nervous. You always know exactly what you're doing. So I
Hmm.
think for that, acting is wonderful.
Hmm.
But I think that you have to come up with your own way. Everybody is different. I think that this is something that isn't explained a lot. It's like everyone's different and learns in a different way
Oh
and
yeah. Oh yeah.
adapts methods to their own, to put their spins on it, how you
Right.
memorize.
Right.
I've
Right.
got my own different things of how I memorize.
Right.
And
Right.
sometimes I was like in a musical or in a play and also in a movie at the same time. I'm memorizing two or three different scripts and different characters. And you really have to have some basis and some
Hmm.
fundamental
Hmm.
things that you do to keep
Yeah.
everything straight and
Yeah.
to do your job.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I
yeah.
mean, like you were saying about different people learning
Mm.
like at a different pace. Yeah, I believe the same thing too. Is like everybody has a different learning curve. Some people have a steeper learning curve. Other people have a more, a gradual learning curve. I mean, we all eventually get there. It's just
Yeah.
that we have to get there in our own time, in our own
Yeah.
way, and
Yeah.
like that. But in sticking with this topic with
Hmm.
the movie with Hugh where you play the lawyer.
Mm.
Um, what was that? What was that movie about? And um, how was it to work with Hugh Laurie?
Yeah, it actually was a series called Chance. It's on Hulu.
Hmm.
So I think it was 2 seasons is that they did. And then I think he decided enough with San Francisco at that point. Um, so it was wonderful. What happened was I got there and he was also the executive producer on it. And he is a very fine stage actor as well as a wonderful musician. If you don't know that already, please do get his albums, and he's fabulous. But uh, on set, I think I was in my trailer for about, I want to say 7 or 8 hours. They had me there before I even shot. So when I got on set, it was funny. It was like 11 o'clock at night or something like that at that point.
Yeah.
And I was in a suit and I was all, suited up. And he said to me, well, first he said to me, wow, you look like he goes, I strike you as somebody that gets up at 6 a.m. every morning and runs and, very dedicated. And I said, well, that is your good wardrobe and makeup person because coming from a family of musicians, we're out late, we like to sleep in, and that's the character. That's the character, right? Of a lawyer
Right.
is up earlier. Uh, so that was really funny. But one thing that I do tell some of my students as well is that so there was a portion of this first scene that I shot And again, it's late at night. I could care less that I was in the trailer for 8 hours, by the way. I was playing drums. I had like my drumsticks. I was just, hanging out. He was upset about it. He said, I can't believe that you were waiting here for that long. They should have called you in later. He was really upset, which I thought was very nice of him, an
Sure.
actor to an actor, right? And so he said the beginning of the scene was voiceover. Okay. So
Uh-huh.
I would go to a studio afterwards and or some other day and do the voiceover. And he said, listen, can we just take that now? And I said, sure. Now that's the lesson. I had not memorized that completely. I looked at it and I was like, okay, I memorized it on the fly. And I kind of kept writing it down and this. And so I did it. But that's another thing is even though it says voiceover, look at those lines and memorize that or write it down and have it handy. Or if you have to have it on a tablet or something in your scene, do whatever. But
Hmm.
that could have really thrown me. Just so you know, always be over prepared. But we did that scene that night,
Uh-huh.
and then we did another, couple scenes. And what the episode, which I found fascinating. Obviously, when you get an episode or when you get booked on something, you do your research, right? I'm a lawyer. I know what I'm his lawyer.
Right, right.
Going over a something that had to do with oh gosh, frontal lobe dementia. I'm going to say that wrong because it's been years, but
Okay.
it's basically something that affects 50,000 people a year at this time. And this character was a respected doctor, and then all of a sudden he had no compassion, no empathy, no nothing because it's something that grew on his brain. So then it came to, well, is he responsible for this? All these things that happen. I mean, his first scene is him doing a dive into a pool over his like wife who's dead in the pool. Right. I'm not giving away anything. That's the first scene in it, but watch it. I think it's episode 4. I think.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm sorry. But anyway, so he has no sense of anything. So Hugh Laurie and I, we're talking and we're like, God, how many people could this really affect? Like how many people are in jail right now that had this?
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
still have to, they still should be going to jail because they injured people, but like they're basically crazy. And he said, yeah. And how about all the other people that were affected, outside of that? So
Hmm.
it was really a
All the
great
victims, all the
the
victims.
victims, and it was just a great conversation to have on an actor to an actor just talking about the research and how this is a real thing and blah 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 blah.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
he was very nice to all the extras. I realized that, and I knew a lot of them because it was in the Bay Area, and a lot of people on. He was very very nice. And I remember one scene where he said, again, he was executive producer. So he said, I'd like to take that again. And they said, no, Mr. Laurie, I think we got it. He goes, I'll pay for it. I thought
Oh,
that was
really? Wow, wow, wow.
producer. So anyway, but at the end of everything, and this is like, I literally, I could have ended my career then on this is, he said, listen, you were brilliant. You were perfect. You did everything that, basically I was a day player, could be. And we really appreciate it. And I was just blown away that he was so nice to me. Um, and so he was charming, professional, nice,
Hmm.
relaxed.
Hmm.
It was great. And that was one of my favorite shoots for sure,
Hmm.
because I respect him so much. He's also very funny. And and I only got about 3 or 4 scenes, but it was nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was a great. I mean, it was a great learning experience too. I mean, you can pick
Yeah.
up a lot of like acting tips or
Hmm.
whatever you can absorb.
Yeah. It wasn't my first time in a thing, but it was definitely my biggest thing and the biggest star. And I was like, gosh, I really love working opposite this kind of talent. It is that
Right,
kind of thing where you're on stage and you're opposite of somebody that the ball won't drop.
right,
You know that this is going to be a good scene,
right.
no matter where it goes.
You're
It's
right.
going to be a good scene.
Well,
Yeah.
working opposite somewhat, not that you don't already have confidence in yourself to begin with, but
Mm.
it does make it a much like a friendlier and emotionally lighter set when you're working with someone who's so easygoing
Yeah.
and uh,
Yeah.
has the same passion that you do to
Well,
get
eh,
get the end
yeah.
result. Yeah.
Just to be in the room. I mean, I was nervous. Don't get me wrong. I mean, but I knew my lines inside it. I studied everything. I
Oh
did
yeah.
everything. But I was very nervous and I was very so grateful to be there. I just enjoyed every single moment.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah.
To add a phone that will ring when your Google number is called, go to Settings and then to the Phones tab. Click on the Add a New Number link and enter the phone number. You can add a descriptive label and phone type. By default, your number will ring for all callers. Or you can set it to only ring for a specified group, like your friends. When you are done, click the Save button.
Another big project that you've had, talking about
Mhm.
voiceovers and all that, is a new national voiceover campaign, and you reminded me that this came out last year, but there's spots that
Yeah.
they're releasing like individually. So this Butter Bubbles wine,
Yes.
I thought that was a very interesting post. Butter Bubbles wine, and I absolutely love the name of the wine, Butter
Yeah.
Bubbles, you know.
Yeah, it's by Jam Sellers, and they're great people. And that's again, so that came to me. Sometimes things come to you in such an interesting way. I had met the producer of that. And I don't even think he was working for Jam Sellers at the time, years
Mhm.
ago. We talked about voiceover, and I can't remember if I did something with them or not, but it would have been many years ago. They had somebody, and this has happened before. They had somebody that did the voiceover, and it went all the way to the CEO, and they didn't like it. They didn't like it with all this footage. I mean, the commercials are really well done. They're
Mhm.
really great, the footage and everything. And he said, we need somebody to replace this, and we need it soon. And but we can you audition for this? Can you let us know how you do it? I said, yeah, no problem. So
Right.
I did it. It was literally within, like, I did 5 or 6 spots, probably within an hour or two. And that was, I'm used to doing stuff like that quickly,
Yeah.
but it was wonderful because I said, you just direct me and you tell me what you want. And they said that, I can speak on voiceover like for years at this point, but one thing to know that I always say is, they want it very conversational, they want it very realistic, they want it to be someone fun, or they want to,
Mhm.
the more takes and different styles that you can give them, the better, and then they could
Mhm.
decide, which one. So I loved doing that campaign, and I love the wine. I love the people there were fabulous, and
Uh-huh.
they're all over the place. I think they're sponsoring Bottle Rock out here, and
Oh,
it's a
really?
big,
Okay. Oh,
big
they're all into
wine.
all different
Every
brands
artist
then.
too.
Okay.
Right. Well, Jam Cellars also has a great tasting room that has, it's all based around music, and they've got really great partnerships and things like that.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I was
Mhm.
excited, but that does happen, by the way. And again, to your point that you started out with, you're not always auditioning um, for that role when you
Right.
meet people, or, and everyone that you meet in life brings something different that you
Oh,
can learn,
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
and you don't really know. I have a lot of faith in things. You really don't know why people come in and out of your lives
Mhm.
sometimes
Mhm.
until later, and you're like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, so
Well,
that was fun.
I don't think that well, there's no way for us to know how to look that far down the road, but things eventually have a way of working out, but we
Mhm.
just can't see it at the time because we're here and we're
Yeah.
not down the road where we're going to be like in another 1 or 2 years. But yeah, eventually everything.
And it's not always up to you either.
No,
Somebody had to not like that
I
spot.
I
Not the
think
first
I
time that I've
think
replaced people, but sometimes, you don't know, right? They could have loved that spot, and I would
right.
have been anywhere in it. So, there's just different, you just have to just do your job and do what you love, and
Mhm.
do it with, be grateful for every moment, which I
Right,
am.
right,
Yeah. Yeah.
right. Yeah, I think there are some things that we're in control of, but there's a whole world of things that we're not in control
Mm,
of. So
mm,
that's yeah, it goes back to what you were saying. So when you first got that was offered that voiceover role, you were saying that when they first started, things exactly didn't work out before you came on board. Was it more or less like say the person that did the voiceover before you
mm.
wasn't exactly what they were looking for? Is that why they decided to change and they heard your voice and it's like, we've got to have her, right?
It was a different sounding voice. I think they wanted somebody that sounded a little bit younger, that sounded, I think studying acting, I've said this so many times, studying acting makes you 1,000 times better voiceover artist, and studying voiceover makes you 1,000 times better actor. So merging those together, they told me what they wanted. I said, how about this? They said, that's perfect. And that was it. So whatever it was, they weren't reading it. Now I had another experience when I had a contract with Raley's, which is a grocery store. And I was on set. I was in 2, 3 of their commercials, I think, as like the busy mom. I'm always like the busy mom. I was like, gosh, 20 years later, how old are these kids? But anyway, I was like, I'm still playing the busy mom. But anyway, uh, and I was on set, and 2 things happened that I thought were really interesting to know, if any actors are out there that are listening, or voiceover artists. One was, I did I did my first line. It was a huge production. I mean, there was like people flew in from all over, and they had, people watching me on screens in another room, and they had this, and they had trucks, and this and that. So I did my lines. I did it over and over. I think I maybe did it once or twice. And the director walks up to me and he goes, I'm just going to tell you something. We can use everything that you just did was great, and we'll probably use the first take. But because there's so many people here and I have to justify myself being here, we're going to do this another 5 times. Such a great, again, generous thing to tell me, because, a lot of times as an actor, you think, what am I doing wrong? Am I not doing it right? Am I not?
Right.
No, you might be doing it perfectly. It's just that they have to justify their job.
Yeah.
Of doing,
Yeah.
yeah. And
It's like we've got to make this look good. It's like we can't call in everybody and then say, okay, we're all done. We made the
that's it.
decision. Everybody go home, right?
Right. Now, not everybody's like that. Some people are like, hey, we got it. No
Yeah,
problem. Right. And
right.
on set.
They got to
but this,
stretch it out. Yeah.
but to be fair, so then on that shoot, I said, I had talked to somebody, and of course I'm mic'd up, everybody can hear me, but I said, yes, I'm a voiceover artist too. I have my studio, blah, 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 blah. And so after I finished that shoot, my agent called and said, they want you to continue this part as the voiceover artist and do their weekly spot every week for a year.
Cool.
I cried when I got that call. I mean, a working voiceover actor every week.
Right.
Pay, I go into a studio and I do it and I get directed, and it was fabulous. So my learning thing of this, or what I share with my students, is that once you know that you have your home studio set up, you're legitimate, you know what you're doing, you have your method down, do anything, to mention it when you're an actor and you're on set. Mention that, because they may want you. And that's exactly what happened. I didn't do it consciously. I was just talking about it. I didn't do it as a thing, but because they knew and they liked my voice and they liked the delivery, they said, okay, we want you to do it for a year. That's a pretty big lesson.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
You never know.
No.
Yeah.
I mean,
Very
you hear about that by being cast like in a weekly series, but like you were saying, voiceover, that's quite unique to
Yeah.
have a steady voiceover role like that instead
Yeah.
of maybe a commercial
A
spot
contract.
here or there or
Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
like that. But
Yeah.
I know one thing that like I do like voiceovers, like for audiobooks, audio dramas, things like that, and for me, it was like I must confess that I did not know that I would also end up doing like voiceovers besides, acting.
Mhm.
And so when I got my first opportunity and I got cast, uh, I thought back to my college days, and I says, this is really like being a DJ. I says, you're well, this is years ago, like Fred Flintstone age, when we actually had the LPs to spin the records and things like that. And it's like, this is just the same thing as back then. You're playing the records, you're staring out the window into the college hallway, a college center hallway. You're talking to nobody. There's nobody out there. I says, this is the same thing.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like an easy transition. So yeah, but
Yeah.
like getting back to what you were saying before, it is acting. You have to use your imagination and conjure up all different kind of things, depending on what you're talking about on the script, like you were saying, all the different roles that you played. But no, I just happened to remember that piece of useless information that probably nobody cares about. But I thought I'd
Everything's
mention
useful.
I thought I'd
Everything's
mention it
useful.
anyway. But
But I will say some people have had issues, and I have stories about that, actors that are fabulous, but they just couldn't make the transition very easily to voiceover. And that happens pretty commonly, actually,
yeah,
I found,
yeah.
because there are some tweaks, and it's usually pretty easy. I have a great story about one of my friends, Dorian, and he's gone on to do Star Wars and Soul and just tons of things, but he just needed a tweak. He was such a great actor, and he stage actor, wonderful voice, like James Earl Jones kind of voice. He's like, I'm not booking. I go, why aren't you
Yes.
booking? So he came to me, he said, help me. And I said, okay. And I gave him a method. I gave him my method. And I'm not saying that's why he started booking, but I think I think we found a little something in his psyche.
Ah,
And he just
okay.
needed to tweak a little bit and
Okay.
have a method. Again, as an actor, I think we like these because we're not always in control of everything, but we like these
No.
things that we can do to be as most prepared as we can be.
Hmm.
And he did that, and he just took off after that. I mean, he just really has had a wonderful career after that. But it was a mental block, and that happened a lot when we shut down. I have friends that are producers on American Dad, like different animated shows,
Right,
and
right,
they
right.
would say or Family Guy or whatever, and they would say, it's interesting how some of these actors, they come in to do voiceover, and they're not quite getting it, the reading the script as opposed to being opposite somebody, because
Right.
you're not playing opposite somebody. So there are some real tweaks to do, and I think once you get that, you can really enjoy it and
Yeah,
really make your career even more full by being able to do voiceover and acting very seamlessly. And
right.
that's what you want to be, so that you're the commodity that your agent wants you to be.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's interesting that you were saying that voiceovers that you're not playing opposite anybody.
Mhm.
Like just like in film, uh, say if you might have like a minor role and like all of the major players have gone home for the day from the set,
Right.
and you're the only one there, and you might have maybe one or two lines speaking opposite someone, but
Mhm.
the shot is all on you, but not on them. And it's like they might have the camera pointed at you, maybe in a corner of the set up against the wall, and you got to pretend that all of that exists in front of you, and you got to pretend that the person that you're acting opposite is in front of you. And yeah, using your imagination that way, the same way like you were mentioning with the voiceover. So
Right.
yeah, yeah,
And
I
you want to
agree with.
get into it as much as you can, right? But like a couple months ago, there's something that's coming out. I can't really say what it is, but it's an affiliation with Amazon and blah 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 blah.
Mhm.
And I got to play a live action and an animated character in it.
Oh, wow,
And it's
cool.
amazing. I always wanted to do that. One's a protagonist and one's an antagonist. So I got to
Oh,
play,
okay.
which is even more amazing to me. And um
So you got to go in there with a split personality, right?
I had
One
to
day
know.
you're
So
this way, one day you're
exactly.
that way, one day you're that way,
But
right?
I did a live action, and that was great. I had somebody to play off of. But then, there's also the animation. But the thing is that you're a lot of times, because it had both technologies, I was playing opposite a tennis ball. So, what do you do with that, right? And that comes a lot of our our motion capture and things like that. You have to really use your imagination and have some sort of way of doing that, method of doing that, to where because your eye line is so important
Oh
when you're
yeah,
doing things like that.
yeah,
So yeah, and
yeah,
green screen, it has a lot to do with green screen too and things like that. So
yeah.
We've heard testimony from friends and family who say Dr. Kushel was an empathetic and self-controlled physician before he was diagnosed.
That doesn't surprise me.
Then could Dr. Kushel, in your opinion, have exercised willpower to stop himself from writing his wife or anyone else prescriptions for narcotics that they didn't need?
I'm sorry. What the?
Could Dr. Kushel have stopped himself from writing prescriptions?
In my opinion, no.
And why is that?
Frontotemporal dementia robbed him of that capacity. He could no more force himself to do the right thing than a man with a severed spinal column could force himself to walk.
And does Dr. Kushel know what's wrong with him?
In my view, he...
Fucking right I do. I'm a goddamn doctor.
Dr. Kushel, I'm not going to warn you again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another role that you've had, talking about using your imagination without having anybody in front of you, is you were in the voiceover in the film Jexy. Am I pronouncing that right?
Oh,
Jexy?
yes.
Jexy.
That's a great story. Yeah.
And let's see, that debuted in October 2019, starring Adam Devine, Alexandra Shipp, Wanda Sykes, the great Wanda Sykes, comedian Wanda
Yeah.
Sykes. And I'll let you, since we're talking about using your imagination and voiceovers,
Mhm.
I'll let you tell everybody what type of voiceover role that you had and what that whole movie was about.
Yeah, that was very interesting. Adam Devine's awesome. I mean, they were all awesome. Alexandra, I mean, they're just fabulous people. But we're all actors. At the end of the day, we're all there just doing our job, and when you're lucky enough to meet with such nice actors too, and like very funny and all that stuff. So this is by the people that did the Hangover movies, The Hangover and Bad Moms and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I got called in by the casting director again, and they wanted someone. So the movie is about a phone, like an AI on the phone that goes crazy, right? So what they were looking for is someone that could read it in a voice, like hi, I'm Jexy. I'm here to make your life better. Something that sounds more like a phone, but that can improv and swear and do funny things and all that stuff. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is like my dream come true, because
you
kind
can
of
just
wanted.
you can just let it all go, right? You let it all
I tend
out,
to
right?
swear a fair amount here and there too. So I mean, especially in a comedic kind of thing. Um, so I came in for it, and and I got it, and they flew me out. I was in San Francisco at the time, so they were filming in San Francisco. So, but they flew me out to LA for the table read and all that stuff, and then on set. So, but the thing is that his partner in the film was a phone, so he had a little earwig that they put in. I think that's what they call it. Yeah, like a little thing that they put in that, and I was in another room. And they already knew that Rose Byrne was going to play the actual role. So she was going to go back in and overdub this, but they needed somebody on set for 2 months to actually play the part, if this makes sense. This is just the way that they were doing things. Rose Byrne's much bigger star. I get it. Whatever. So she did it, and she's wonderful. So they were dubbing her in afterwards. My job was to play the part for part. So it was super confusing for the crew members, because they were like, wait, aren't you the part? I don't understand. How is this happening? But anyway, when we get on set, we kept building sets, little booths everywhere. So I was really glad that, like, I was really close with the sound guys and stuff. And I was like, I'm so glad that I had all this experience in building booths. So sometimes I'd be under the stairs. Sometimes I'd be like, whatever we had to do to make it quiet.
Yeah.
Because they were recording me, every day,
Mhm.
and using that in post and for everything to make it so that she would just go in and redo stuff. So I got to play that part, and it was a dream. It was a dream, and the writing was funny, but then they also let us improv, and that was even more funny. It's like just doing. I remember one time he said, we just want to like shock him. And I said, okay, during this one scene. And so he said, just go and do whatever. Now I'm in a room by myself. So, I think I did like a male truck driver, a British woman, it's all like and it was very, off color for sure.
And you can't hear the reactions of what you're talking about, right? Because you're all enclosed there. So you can just let it all go, right?
No, but I remember Shelley, the first AD, who I love too. She and the writers were on set and everything. I mean, everybody was wonderful, but she stopped the production after that. She said, we just got to take a minute here, Laurie. That was great. We're cracking up. And it was really great, because it was, I felt so, when you do a job, a lot of times also in acting, everything's so delayed, right? If you're not on stage, you're not getting that. Even on stage, you have to wait till the end of the thing to get the
Yeah,
applause, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
it's kind of the same thing. You kind of just it just goes out. You don't know where it goes and how they're reacting. You're just doing your job. So that was another kind of highlight. I look at these things whenever we all get feeling insecure or I'm confident that I do the best I can and that I know what I'm doing, but we all get a little bit sometimes like should I say this? Should I do that? What voices? It was all up to me to come up with these three or
Yeah,
four
yeah,
voices that I just
yeah,
kept going.
yeah.
And I remember I was very proud of myself for just not overthinking it and just going with my instinct and improving all this stuff and the fact that they reacted. That really, there's these little moments. Nobody would ever know about it unless I'm talking to you, let's say on
Right,
here that meant so much that they said that was really good. That was so
right,
funny. They couldn't keep it in because it's my voice. But
right, right.
but it was I
Well,
had the freedom to do a lot of that.
well, I mean, that's good that you put a lot of things out there because you could put everything out there that you could think of, and it was sort of up to them to figure out which one. It's like you threw it all up on the wall, right?
Right,
So it's
right,
up to them
right.
to take this posted sticker or that posted sticker off the wall. If that's,
Mm, yeah.
just like in writing, they always tell you write absolutely everything, put everything out there, put it all up on the wall and see whatever sticks, and whatever doesn't sticks, that's what you ended up with.
And you don't have to play it safe. I think that was what I
No,
learned,
no.
in
Well,
my
then
don't play it safe, actually. Just
no.
go for it. And whatever they think, they think. And that ended up, it was very, I felt it was very, again, because we have these things in acting where you have to say exactly what the lines are, and then there's the improv side of it, which I've done other movies like that too. And usually the improv, by the way, are always the ones that make it in for all us
Right?
actors,
Yeah, yeah,
because they're
there's been a lot of
funny, right? But to go for it and not overthink it and not to stick to the script. I was
yeah,
proud of myself. And I think that's another thing is as actors, we should really be proud of ourselves when we make these decisions and go for it that
yeah,
are
yeah.
uniquely us.
Yeah.
They're
Well,
just
even though I didn't know you at the time when you did that, I'm proud of you for
well,
doing
thank you.
that.
Thank you so much.
But
Yeah,
but
it's all
you were mentioning when you let everything go and you
yeah.
have fun with it. I think that's where the real, like with improv, that's where the real fun comes in, right? I mean, you can like let all your artistic passion go, and it's
Mhm.
like the sky's the limit, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you can reach as high as you want and just say, well, that's what it is. Take whatever you want. I gave it my all, right? I didn't leave anything
absolutely.
on the
Didn't leave
table.
anything on the table.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
What else are you there for? Why
That's
play it
right.
safe? I mean, yeah, you could crash and burn technically, but not really if you're doing what you love and you're being authentic and that's what I think the practice is. And that's why I think the studying comes in is to give you the confidence to do that and to just be very certain about who you are and what you can bring to the table
I,
and what you're
I,
willing to try.
I think, like in an instance like that, I think who you really are really comes out right then and
Mm,
there. Like if it's
mm,
improv and it's like you're reaching into, if you want to call it the deepest recesses of your talent, and you're pulling absolutely everything out of here that you can. And
mm.
I think that's the real you, right? That's the real performer that's coming out like that. Not,
Well, and yeah, I think it's also, there's been times in my life where I didn't go for it.
mhm.
To that, I was too afraid to do things. I was too scared to take this opportunity or to answer
Yep,
that. And
yep,
and so rather than sitting there and saying I should have done this, I should have done
yeah,
that. Well, then
yeah.
from now on, do better.
That's
You
right.
know more, do better, and go for it and have
Yeah.
fun.
I'm glad that you said that about, being scared in the past. And I
Mhm.
heard this some time ago, several years ago, and it was a phrase that said, if your dreams don't scare you, you're not going big enough. And that what you said just reminded me of that. You're not going
I
big
have
enough.
that up on my Instagram wall. That's funny. Yeah,
Oh,
I
is
think
it really?
or yeah,
Wow.
it's a great. Was it Steve Jobs or some? It was somebody
I
like that,
think
right?
so. I
Yeah,
think so. Yes, it
yeah.
was.
Okay.
Kudos. Yes, kudos.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Great
yeah, yeah.
quotes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then another one. Um, let's see. I'm trying to think of who said it, but maybe you can think of it. The other one was you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Have you ever heard that one?
Yeah. Yeah.
And those two I always remember, like every day, it's like remembering those two things, probably like yourself,
Yeah.
like you said, the sky's the limit. You're not afraid of anything.
No,
Yeah.
no. Yeah.
And
And I think
talk,
that comes with age too. I mean, age, hopefully, or maybe not age as much as evolution, whatever you're
oh yeah,
studying, whatever you're doing, whatever you're learning.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think that
yeah,
comes with some sort of maturity, I should say, maybe.
right,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, with experience and
Experience. That's a better word. Yeah.
This is Sophia having a boring night in. She had a boring night in last night and the night before. Oh, yeah, Sophia. Now life's a Cabernet.
When I don't want to be boring, I bring the butter.
Find rich, smooth butter cab for under $20 in the wine aisle and at drinkbutter.com.
And well, one thing that you did take to the limit is your virtual voiceover camp you started. You're the founder of
Yeah.
that website. So
Yeah.
I found that to be very interesting. There's a lot of posts of telling about it on your Facebook page, Instagram page. So
Mhm.
what was your motivation for starting or for founding that page, that
Uh,
website?
yeah. Well, again, I had a lot of people come to me. I was teaching already in San Francisco here and there for voiceover, as well as being a voiceover. I'm still doing it as well, which I think serves everyone because then I can really keep on top of what's happening in the world of voiceover today and the trends and the auditions and what they're looking for and what the specifications are. And so when I moved to LA, we promptly shut down. And that's when Backstage came to me and said, "Will you do these lives?" They were just lives. They were YouTube lives on voiceover. And I said, "Sure." So I started doing those and I was like, "Well, I guess I'll just keep coaching now," because people then started reaching out and doing that. And so I was doing a lot of one-on-ones and then I don't have the time to do a lot of one-on-ones anymore. So I said, I really,
But
since
you
I've been
have the
sharing,
time for me today, and I thank you
of
for a
course I do.
one-on-one
No,
today.
thank you.
And a one-on-one with the hundreds of people out there, the thousands or how many are out
Yeah, it's wonderful. No, thank you so much
there.
for reaching out. But um I so I started doing that and then I said, I'm going to develop this into a course. So I developed it into a course and took people live through it. And so now I have another course coming out soon. And I'm really excited about it. I took some time off. My father passed away and I had some other things going on. And,
Oh,
the world in general
oh,
had a lot of things going on.
oh, sorry to hear
And
about
so
that. Yeah.
thank you. But also within that time, I worked more and more on this course, on this newer course, and kind of like how people can take it on their own and do things on their own as well, and Touchstone with me and all that stuff. And again, working on the method, so that you have one method for any type of voiceover. So I had some of my students. I did a lot of research, of course, with my students. I asked a lot of them, what do you need? What is it that you like to learn? What is it? I've produced demos. I've done everything from the beginning stages to the end stages, right? A voiceover. And so I took all that information and I made it into a course that's easily digestible now. But it's taken me a year or two to really put this all together. I want it to be, everything. Like, okay, you want to be in voiceover. You don't need to take another class for narration. You don't need to take another class for animation. You don't need to take that. The one method study does everything. So I had these other students that just kept taking all the, I took one of my students, I think, took one in announcing or whatever. I said, why, I, I said, you have one method. You use that method for everything, everything. You could even adapt it over to acting and it'll help you in acting on camera. So that's what's coming out. It should be within this next month.
Okay.
So it's virtualvoiceover.com. I
Mhm.
trademarked it. It's trademarked as well. And it's basically sharing everything. So whether if you're new to voiceover, that's great. This is a great way to start. If you are already a voiceover actor and you want to level up and really have a method to do it, I do have a lot of students that are also actors and multi-creatives. That seems to be something because I can speak so much about that.
Mhm.
Using what you already have, also as a trained singer, and your vocal techniques and things like that, using what you already have and just to make you a better voiceover artist and make you more marketable, and book more things. And
Mhm.
or it could be if you want to do an audiobook, there are so many different types of voiceover artistry. I don't know if everybody knows that. So I created another course on that kind of goes through the examples of different ones. For example, a loop group or like you said, audiobooks, or I mean, there's so many different
Mhm.
kinds,
Oh,
ways
there
that you can
is.
make a living at it, but also enjoy doing it. And we all have different things that we like. I'm more of a commercial voiceover artist and an animated voiceover artist, which I
Mhm.
love. But I've done again thousands of tech and narration and
Mhm.
information commercials. So
I was
I'm
just
really
going to
excited
ask
about
you
it.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I'm excited for it to come out. I'm excited. Um, I have people that have been asking for it for a while, and I feel extremely grateful to be in this position that I could actually do it and that I had the time to dedicate to really make it a useful course. I really hope that it inspires people and also gives them the tools to just soar
Mhm.
and be the best that they can be in it.
Yeah.
And hopefully they'll like it. So
That,
we'll see.
well, I know
Yeah.
though. I know.
Yeah.
I liked your backstage
Thanks.
workshops like that. So,
Yeah.
I don't have any doubt that they won't find it very useful, and informative.
I hope
And
so.
I think that's great that, like you were saying, it's like one method and it'll take you like through the whole spectrum of
Mm,
whatever you want to pursue, like in your entertainment.
pursue.
Uh,
Yes.
just like they say, cut to the chase. This is the way to go. Learn it.
Yes.
Learn it and run with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't need to spend tons on the setup, and you don't need to do this, and I also think it's interesting that you could also take the course, and it can help you maybe read to your child or grandkid or whatever, and
Oh
do
yeah,
different voices
that's.
and things like that. It's or public speaking or something. I just
Hmm.
think sometimes you take courses, and again, you don't. It may not be necessarily that you want to be a professional voiceover
Yeah,
artist,
yeah,
but it could take you to another place, or you might find out this isn't for me, but at least you tried it. At
right.
least you had all the information in front of you. I go over auditions, what auditions look like, what they are, how to talk to them. I mean, these are things that I was not taught that. I was
Hmm.
taught, I studied to make a demo, but all that other stuff, the marketing, the how it is to be an actual working voiceover artist, I felt that was something absent, and I wanted one course that addressed everything. So I hope to help a lot of people.
Yeah,
We'll see.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were talking about public speaking, and
Mhm.
uh, I think I think the majority of people, I mean, in my opinion, the majority of people are like deathly afraid of getting up in front of the
Mm,
crowd, right? I mean, that's the way
mm,
it appears to me. Like for me, I don't know, something changed along the way, like when you're in school and you have to give like a book report or show and tell. And when I was, in the small grades and I had to make like a presentation, and I'd always remember it's like my upper lip would start to like quiver.
mm,
It's like,
mm,
oh no, oh no, oh no, here we go again. But it's
mhm.
like sometime between there and not today. I mean, it's been like a million years since I was a kid, but when I first got into acting, it's like, I don't know, something natural kicked in. It was
Mm.
like, I didn't have to think about it. It just felt natural to me. So I don't know, I guess maybe I grew out of it. Maybe a lot of people grow out of it, but like with your course, I think that'll help them to grow out of it, to get over that hump, right?
I
So,
hope so. Again, for me, I was not born completely confident in all these things. As a matter of fact, as a kid, I wasn't. I mean, I had a stutter. I just had a whole bunch of stuff. But I think having a method and something to fall back on,
mhm, mhm.
to go in, because the minute that you get nervous, what goes first? Your voice.
Oh yeah.
That's right. You
Oh
you you're
yeah.
you're swallowing too much. You got a lot of, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm also I'm very big into visualization. So I use a lot of that as well. And it's served me very well in my career. And I think that just having a plan for these situations because it
Oh
is
yeah.
the thing about, voiceover, you get in that booth, you're by let's say you go to a studio, you book a bigger job, you go to a studio, you have a piece of glass in between you and the engineer, and you've got people in your ears talking to you, and it's like, go. And so there's a lot of, there could be a lot of stress on that.
Oh
You
yeah.
could psych yourself out. And then they say, give me something different. Okay, now give me something different again. Give me something different again. So I thought, well, there's the problem, not problem, but the task.
Uh-huh.
So what can I do to kind of reverse engineer that, to give somebody something that they can fall back on and go, I know exactly what to do to get to that other
Mhm.
voice. I know
Yeah.
exactly what to do. And that way the fear's gone. You show up and do your
Right.
thing. And all you say is, I mean, this is what I say before going on stage, even acting. Like, I studied this. I know what I'm doing. I enjoy this. Like,
Mhm.
and you that self-talk, I think, is very important. And you have to learn some things first,
Mhm.
whatever works for you.
Right,
But
right.
personally, that's how I overcame those fears.
Mhm.
And for personal and public speaking, it's the same way. So
Right,
you
right,
use these tools for that as well.
right.
And I've done a lot of public speaking, obviously,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, it's also it's about us together. I was a singer as well, right? So I was fronted bands and things like that.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
I
I saw that one post that you were just belting it out there, you know.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know which post that
One
is,
of the,
but
I don't
thank
know if
you.
it was I don't know if it was like
Yeah,
Facebook or Instagram, but it's like you were up there, you were like
yeah,
rocking, you had the
yeah.
mic in your hand, and man, you were just like going at,
I
and
was
I says,
belted.
yeah, man, I says, go, do it, you know?
Well, thank you. But the thing is, I was always very shy, also singing for weddings and things like that,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
friends' weddings. Um,
So you were the original wedding singer then,
the
right?
original wedding singer, oh, I wish, right? No, but so I never really did it for the applause because that always made me kind of a little uncomfortable. But when I was singing, I'd always thought, I'm here to have a big party with everyone.
Right,
Not to be perfect. It's not to be this, prima donna, or opera singer doing, this, that, or the
right. Yeah, yeah,
here
yeah, yeah.
to have fun with everybody, but we're all a part of it. We're having a party. So we're all kind of singing together. It's not about me.
Right.
And I think that's something that is very big to know also as an actor and a voiceover artist. It's not your story, it's their
Mm-hmm.
story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So once you
Yeah,
do that, it really takes off a lot of I
it
find a lot
does.
of
It does.
the
Yeah.
thing, and then there's no ego
Yeah.
in that. Your
Yeah.
ego can be tied up in how well
Yeah.
you're serving the story and the people that hired you to do
Yeah.
this, and that are trusting you to
Hmm.
do this.
Yeah.
So
Take your ego
fun.
and throw it out the window
Throw
because
it out the
not
window.
not about us.
Yes.
It's about them. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're so fortunate. I feel always so grateful when somebody does choose me to represent them, or my voice in a certain way
Oh,
for their
sure.
company,
Oh, sure.
or for a commercial
Yeah.
or an actor or
Yeah.
whatever. So
Well,
yeah.
I mean, that's a big compliment. I mean, really, that's a big compliment.
Yeah.
They want you and only you because you're so good at what you do. So yeah, that's a big feather in your cap. Very big feather.
Well, I fit, I don't know if, I don't believe that much in the competition mindset at all. In fact, I don't have the competition mindset at all.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But I believe in you are the best person that you can be. You're
yeah,
fulfilling your potential.
right.
And if that aligns with them, right? Or if what they ask of you, you can deliver, then you're always going to win,
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
And being
Going
easy
back,
to work with, I
yeah,
think.
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think a lot of times, people get hired because, especially as an actor, because they're like, could I spend 14 hours a day with this person and be okay with that? Are they nice to be around?
Right. Yeah. Well,
Professional,
yeah,
know the lines, but also, are they easy to work with?
that's a very, very big part of it. Well, I think
Yes.
that is the biggest part of it is if
Hmm.
you're easy to work with and you can work together with people, like they say, there's no I in team, right?
Yeah.
That also that's saying that like that. But
Yeah.
before we end this today,
Mhm.
I cannot end this interview without having you showcase what's in your background. I see all those awards. I
Oh,
see LB and
oh,
lights. I know what the LB stands for in lights, but
yeah.
if you could
Yeah.
take us through what
Oh,
you
you're so
have in your
funny.
background, which each of those are.
Yes, I'm a big believer in whatever your space is, especially your home studio and stuff like that. And that's all in the course and stuff is, make it your own and make it whatever makes you feel good. So the sign up here says everything you, sorry, Everything you are is everything the world needs.
Okay.
And one of my best friends sent me that for Christmas, and it was such a nice, lovely thing. She's one of my very best friends, and so it just made me feel good, and I think everybody should feel that good. So I put that up there. The other a couple of awards, one for acting, and then one that I actually gave to my dad, and so I have that back there, one of them. And I think the other two are for acting. I did some voiceover for this one for the telly, but and then the hula one is that was from Rayleigh's, and my family lives in Maui. I should say that too. I've got my mom and my brother and his family in
Okay.
Maui.
I've
So
seen a lot of posts about that, and
yeah,
it's really tempting to now to go to Hawaii. I mean, that
I
looks so
know. It's
good, so
fabulous.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's nice for my family and everything like that. So, and we're all creators. So, it's just a wonderful thing. But beside that point, when I was, had the contract with Rayleigh's, the director who was in my ears, uh, said, okay, relax a little bit. I want you to hula. He would always say, I want you to hula. I want you to hula. So then he sent me this hula girl. And so it just was such a nice, lovely thing. And I've got a lot of nice people have been very, very generous and nice to me over the years. And so it reminds me of, you know, being in it and just the gratitude for all of it. I have another little sign on there for acting stuff that means things to me. Some
Mhm.
flowers also from my dad. And so that's basically it. Yeah, I've got another studio that I record in for my other recording things. So I just wanted this one to be a little bit more things that
Right,
I love.
right.
Yeah,
Well,
things that I love.
yeah, that's a nice backdrop to go with everything.
Thank you.
And
Thanks.
the lights, I like the lights there.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
That really shows it off. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, you have to, I think that's really important to, we see the same things all
Hmm.
over. And I think it's really important. And what I hope that I help people do is like find out who you are, your voice. And I mean that metaphorically and literally.
Right, right,
Uh,
right.
and really, create your environment and your life the way that you want it to be. I truly believe that we all have that in our power is to, be creative every day. For me, that's what brings me happiness is to be creative every day, no
Hmm.
matter what it is,
Hmm.
to be creative every day.
Right. Just
So,
some, yeah,
yeah,
just something to
something.
reinforce it, just to keep up
Yeah,
that energy and passion. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Laurie, I mean, I've really enjoyed having you talk with us today. It's been such a pleasure. Like I said, I so look forward
Me too.
to speaking with you after seeing you virtually a few times several years ago, and I'm glad that you graciously accepted my invitation to be on my show.
Oh, well, thank you so much for the invitation. It's such a joy to meet you in person or virtually in person, and it's wonderful to connect with you. And I
Yeah.
really appreciate your time as well.
Well,
So thank you so much.
I appreciate your time, taking the time out of your busy schedule to visit us for a little while here. So, yeah,
Okay.
I wish you continued success in your acting, your voiceover acting, singing, and your voiceover boot camp, and all things Laurie, all things artistically Laurie, which
Aw,
is too many to get into in the short time
aw.
we've had with you today. So, yeah, once again, thank you very much for being on my show. Continued success for this year and and the years to come. So,
Well, thank you so much. I wish you continued success in everything that you do as well, which
thank
is
you.
fabulous. So I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank
Yep.
you and Happy New Year.
Yes, that's right. Happy New Year to you too. Yes, so everyone, we've been spending time today with Laurie Burke, actor, singer, voiceover artist, TV host, the founder of her own virtual voiceover boot camp, among a lot of things too numerous to mention in the short time that we have to close the show here. So until we all meet again next time. I wish everyone to have a good day, a good week, a good life. Keep the passion in your life that you're striving for. Be sure to watch this interview when I load it up to YouTube. which is now, for those of you watching, we're recording now, and stay tuned and like my YouTube channel, make any comments that you wish about Laurie's interview here or any of the other interviews that I've had in the past. And so until next time, have a good day, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
And I also support you staying in this country.
But
I do not support you leading this community. Look, Mr. Ramirez is great about talking about his own life, but what about everyone else's life? You know, let me ask you, young man, how would you specifically address the issues of being sheriff? How would you balance the budget in an era of growing needs and declining tax revenue? And with these wildfires that continue to burn out of control, how should the deputies balance public safety with public health?
She's making some good points.
And I'm sorry, you don't like cops? Yeah, how about the next time neo-Nazis march through Berkeley? Who's protecting you now? Look, this isn't about me. And it's not about Mr. Ramirez. This is about the 1.5 million residents of this community. What policies do you have to improve their lives? Do you have a position on anything? Or is this all just about you?